let's talk about AMD. You and I actually ran into and had a little time to sit down with CEO Lisa Su when we were at the Dell Tech Analyst Summit. The reason we're not talking about the Dell Tech Analyst Summit, by the way, is because it was all NDA. So we're not going to say anything, but let's just say we did have the chance to spend time with Michael, with Lisa, with a bunch of other Jeff Clark and leaders from the Dell team, and encouraging to listen to them talk about AI. But let's talk about AMD. Okay, long and short, it was a beat, on revenue, margin, and EPS looked good too. But people didn't love it. Why didn't people love it? Because the only thing people care about when you beat is your guide. So when you beat and you guide up, they're happy. When you beat and you guide down, they're not. And it really doesn't matter how much you beat by, because it's kind of the "what have you done for me lately" syndrome. And so everybody's kind of wondering. Now, this is a really weird kind of a tale of two guidances. I think both of you just simultaneously looked at Lisa and congratulated her on the really encouraging guide around AI, the GPU data, GPU number. What it was like 2 billion on the guide of GPU for their MI series. They're telling a very compelling story that moves revenue off potentially of NVIDIA, at the very least. Enables customers that want an alternative to work at the higher layers of abstraction and frameworks with AMD to be able to get workloads on their silicon pretty seamlessly. And at the same time, because gaming's pretty weak, parts of PCs are still only just coming back, there was a very near miss on guide, and everybody kind of went ballistic about it. But Pat, I want to talk about a couple of things besides just the beat raise. The company's operating very well. And so, if you didn't see it, their margin, I think it's up 5%. Like, what a tremendous growth on a year-on-year basis. And operating margin saw significant 5%, increase on year over year. These are good things. When companies are in tougher periods of growth, I always look to, are they operating well? And so we've seen this throughout the past few quarters. When companies are trying to find profit, it's, can they also manage the budget well? Can they manage operations well? Can they manage hiring well? Can they manage production well? Can they manage their supply chain well? And so there's a lot of indication inside the business that it's not only running for the top end, but it's running to become a much more efficient bottom line production machine. This is a company to be excited about, Pat. This is a company that has a good opportunity to be the number 2 AI company. It's made some very important acquisitions. The Xilinx acquisition, for instance, was very important. It's also making some pretty important moves around AI. It's making some tuck-in acquisitions. It's announced some very interesting partnerships. Pat, this is a company to be encouraged by. And I know you got a little bias here because you were, of course, the strategy chief, corporate development guy. I saw your
don't even go there, dude.
I saw your street cred. It popped up.
I don't have any bias, dude. I've been gone from that place from 12 years.
Sorry.
And fired from there.
Sorry, buddy. Let me be clear about that. You're very reputed for covering this company, not a bias of like or dislike. Just you're very well known because of your experience.
I know I heard the word bias, so I'm reacting to that.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I'd be called out. I should be called out for that. My more mean is you're known for your role there. It was a street cred joke. It just didn't land. Let me do that again. I saw your street cred the other day with Fort, where it pointed out that you were the AMD guy. Okay, back in the day.
Yeah.
We blow that out. Let's blow that out. Anyway, point is that solid guide. AI matters. That's what it is. AI matters. Can they land the AI thing? And that's probably my only gripe. My biggest gripe is just like, okay, for a year now, I kind of keep hearing, when is it going to start landing?
Yeah. So good coverage here. I'm going to hit some of the data center highlights. So Dan, you correctly talked about the company waiting for what they could do with AI. And on the call, Lisa announced that they're going to see $2 billion of revenue in 2024 based on GPU accelerators. And the MI300 is going to be, this is per AMD, the fastest to $1 billion that the company, any product they've ever done. And when I think about Opteron. I think of Ryzen. I think about Epic. I think, maybe I said Athlon before, but it's kind of shocking that this would be the fastest to billion. And quite frankly, when I talk to CSPs and even the enterprise on-prem folks, AMD is the clear number 2 in AI accelerators. And it comes down to a GPU design versus an ASIC. And I love ASICs. They're harder to program too. They're more efficient than GPUs. And there are little blocks of ASICs that are inside of what people call GPUs, but it's just easier to program. Intel does have a data center GPU, and I'll admit I'm trying to figure out why people don't view it as a second or even a third. It appears to me that the market is getting more excited about Habana 2 than anything else. My instinct, no pun there, tells me that Intel GPU is architected more for high performance computing GPU than it is for AI training or AI inference. Because quite frankly, we just don't hear a lot about it. Indicator that the market is back when you look at the PC market is back when you look at what Intel pulled off, but the client segment was up 42%. Okay, so we saw Intel, we saw AMD. That inventory, I can confidently say, has been flushed out of the ecosystem and look like it's doing well. I'm not going to comment on gaming or embedded just because they're not what people are focused on. I mean, gaming, the gaming client revenue, is as large as client. I just said I wouldn't cover it, but I am. But yeah, the revenue is down, and that's really on the back of sell-in of the gaming consoles. It was cited by AMD and a couple of the other things as well. Radeon GPU is actually up, so I'll skip embedded. Well, I won't skip embedded. They were down. Intel was down, and so was Lattice. So no surprise. Industrial markets impacted. Data center stuff is questionable. Move on. But AMD is in the game on AI PCs as well. We haven't heard a lot of details out of it, but they claim to have 50 notebook designs with Ryzen AI in the market today. And they announced a really cool CPU architecture that they announced with notebooks that I don't want to call it big little because that's ARM, and I don't want to call it but even P-core and E-core that Intel is doing. But there's a Ryzen 4 core and a Ryzen 4C, and the C is the small core and the Ryzen is the big core. I'm hearing that it's easier to program than P and an E core, but I don't know that myself. I haven't done the analysis, and neither has Futurum Labs.
Big Pat, Little Dan.
There we go.
Big Pat, Little Dan. So that was actually some pretty good insight. And that's something that I think our performance lab should probably tear into, and we are tearing deeply into the AI PC. You can keep an eye out for some of that will hit early in 2024. That's going to be a trend line we are going to be talking about a lot.